ahead, Jocko.
Good evening. Thank you for coming to the SWSD School District Community Recognition Night, and welcome. I'm Phil Brockman, I'm the school superintendent. It's always my pleasure to come up and just welcome you. Matt Mihalik, the principal extraordinaire from Central Elementary, and Woolley grad will be emceeing tonight. He's done some great work with this, and he'll be talking some more about that. I'd like to make some introductions. So we have some board members here. Eric Johnson, right here. Eric, can you? Dr. Gary Johnson, right here. He's in a dual role today. Our president, Christina Jefferson. We have Julia Johnson, our mayor, is here today. I'd like to introduce Steve McCart. Steve, are you back there? Steve? Nita? Anybody back there? Okay, we're streaming live. We're streaming right now this whole program. And you'll be able to see it tomorrow. You can get on our website and click the link, and you'll be able to see the whole program tonight. So I'd like to get started. I'm going to bring Matt up. Matt's going to talk a little bit about what we're doing tonight. But I also want to brag about our school district. We have a great school district, and our school district is great because of all of you support us. And everywhere I go, it's Cedar Woolley. It's all about Cedar Woolley schools. So thank you for doing that. And a lot of you out here have been part of that. We have Mark Venn, former superintendent. We have Mike Janicki, who's a former board member. We have lots of people. I don't want to announce a lot of people because I'll get myself in trouble for not mentioning somebody. Mr. Johnson down here, George. So thank you for coming and welcome. And now Matt.
All right. Thanks for coming out tonight. It's the 2018. It sounds like we're in a space age movie, right? 2018 Community Recognition Hall of Fame for the Cedar Woolley School District and the Cedar Woolley community. It's a great night. When I was asked if I want to participate in this, and I really was asked, right, Phil? Yes. I was asked. I said absolutely. The folks that are being recognized tonight and the former winners of these awards, they are like the founding fathers and mothers of this community. They'll go back and in time, hundreds of years from now, and look at the people that put Cedar Woolley on the map and the people that put the school district together. It's the people that live here, the people that work here, that really make this a place that's special. So I'm super excited to be a part of this. When we do assemblies at school, one of the things we do tell the kids first is we got to go over the expectations of the assembly. All of us have a role in the assembly. This is a recognition assembly, and in a recognition assembly, we have to pay attention to the speaker. Not to each other, but you're one of those people that needs to be paying attention. And it's good that I have you in the front row. This is where we put the special students. Yeah. So recognition assembly, there are going to be times where we want to recognize and celebrate with our friends because they want to hear their name heard. But there are also times that we have to be quiet and listen to speakers. The reason we want to listen to speakers is there's going to be a lot of funny stuff said tonight. There's going to be some moving stuff, a lot of emotion. It's very important to the recipients and the family and the community. It's like Old Home Week for me. I grew up around a lot of you in the community, and I'm super excited to be a part of this. Phil stole a lot of my thunder on thanking the people, but I think he forgot to thank the orchestra. Where's the orchestra? Let's say thanks to the orchestra for performing. I've learned over the years in assemblies to do all the thank yous at the beginning because at the end you're trying to rush off the stage and get done, and sometimes you forget who to thank. But the number one person that we want to thank for all the work that goes into tonight is Kelly Cargill. And I also want to thank Todd Torgerson. He was my predecessor in this event for several years, and Todd paved the way for me to be very successful. If you know what I mean. Awesome. All right. I also want to thank any of the past recipients that are here and community committee members. So if you're a past, if you can, how about this one? If you can stand and you're a past recipient, or just wave at us. Let's give them a hand for being here. There's George. So the process goes like this. The school district puts out a press release for the community, the school district, to nominate individuals for these awards. And we got several nominations, upwards of at least 40, I think. And then we convene the committee, and the committee is the past award winners. And I tell you, that was a pleasure for me getting to be in the room with a lot of those past award winners. And they all have strong backgrounds and strong opinions, but we as a team were decisive in our decision making, right? Right? We're going to stick together with our decision making, right, George? Awesome. So with that, we're recognizing 5 individuals who made a big impact on our community. Dr. Paul Johnson will be receiving the Memorial Award tonight. Clap. Mr. Steve Massey, he's getting a Community Service Award tonight. You know, I was awarded some community service back when I was a teenager. Some of you just got that. It took me a little while. I think the meds are kicking in. We're getting there. Where's Fred Lennox? Fred Lennox is getting the Hall of Fame award. Dr. James Rogers over here, he's getting our Hall of Fame award. And there are 2 of the Hall of Fame awards. One, although I'm sure both were athletic, and both I'm sure were academic, there are 2 awards being given out tonight. So both of them are recipients of the Hall of Fame award. So we'll let the presenters talk a little bit more about their strengths. And Judy Van Beek Sato, where's Judy? There she is. So we're among legends here tonight. It's going to be fun. So with that, I'm going to keep moving on a little bit, and we're going to get going with our first recipient. This is for Dr. Paul Johnson, and he's receiving the Memorial Award. And so with that, before I invite his presenters to come on up, Dr. Paul Johnson, we used to call him Uncle Paul in my house. Paul was my wife Tristan's uncle, and we're going to invite Heidi and Leif, his children, up here. So Paul attended Cedar Woolley schools. He graduated from Cedarville High School in 1967. He attended PLU, the Loops, where he earned his bachelor's degree in biology, went through medical school at the University of Washington, residency in San Bernardino, California in 1978. His first medical position was in Olympia with Group Health, and he co-founded the North Cascades Family Physicians Office in Mount Vernon. He was board certified sports medicine doctor, and most of the end of his career you don't really retire, I think, when you're in the medical field. You just kind of keep on getting into different things. So Paul spent a lot of time working through the community in hospice, and that's where he left a big chunk of his legacy there. Paul enjoyed being outdoors, Paul enjoyed music, and I think probably most of all he enjoyed being with his family. Paul was preceded in death by his first wife Heidi, and he's survived by Heidi and Leif, and his wife Wendy, sorry. No, Wendy was his wife, yeah, sorry. And Kim, where's Kim? There's Kim. And Kim's here tonight too, so that's very special. So with that, we're gonna have Heidi and Leif come on up.
Well, thanks, Matt, for that introduction. Wow, good crowd here tonight. My name's Leif Johnson. I'm here to speak about my father, Paul Johnson, and I hope you'll excuse me for reading a prepared speech. It's not usually my style, but I hope to be able to make it through all this. This is the first time I've spoken publicly about my father since he died. So, on behalf of my family, I'd like to thank Cedarville School District for this wonderful honor. I think Dad would be absolutely honored to be mentioned among the other recipients of this recognition, several of whom he knew and counted among his friends. I'd also like to acknowledge some of my immediate family that are here tonight that helped me to prepare for tonight. My sister, Heidi Hyatt, who is wearing my dad's class of '67 sweater tonight. Heidi, who I pretty shamelessly stole most of the ideas for what I'm about to say tonight, so credit her. My stepmom, Kim Cusick, in the front row, and my dad's brothers, Gary and Mark, who are both here. Thank you all for your help in getting ready for this. I'd also like to acknowledge all the friends and family that are here. Having you all in our corner has made the last few years just indescribably easier, so thank you all for that. This is, of course, a huge honor for another reason. Heidi and I are both Cedarville grads, so go Cubs. My dad lived an absolutely fascinating life. I could literally speak about him for hours. In my life, I have never known someone who had quite his unique blend of optimism, practical realism, tolerance, and patience. It wasn't unusual that he was off to hike Mount Kilimanjaro or that he was going to go ride 100 miles on his bike just for fun. I've had more than one person tell me that he literally saved their life, and not just as a physician. Like the time he pulled some passengers out of a gasoline-soaked car that had flipped over, or the time he rescued a fellow hiker out of a crevasse on a glacier. They're both pretty good stories if you have some time. However, as a great public speaker himself, I know my dad would tell me to just keep it short. So, here are 3 phrases among many that my dad liked to use that I hope will help you to know him a little better, and how I believe being a student at Cedarville and a member of this community helped him to lead a successful life. So, the first phrase that he used all the time, be a lifelong learner. My dad had the benefit of the best K-12 education that you can get anywhere in the world. Mary Purcell, Central, Cascade Middle School, and Cedarville High School. That gave him the foundation he needed to be accepted at Pacific Lutheran University, as Matt says, with boots, and then medical school at UW. That wasn't the end of learning for him, though. During his career, he needed to continuously study to maintain his medical license, and he chose to obtain further certification in both sports medicine and eventually hospice. I don't think that's necessarily what he meant, though, by being a lifelong learner. My dad found joy in the process of learning things outside of his career. Want to know how to rebuild a carburetor in a 60s Corvette? He knew how to do that. Want to debate politics? He could help you to see the other perspective, whatever side you were on. Maybe you have a question about how to fly a plane. Well, he had a pilot's license. he was the kind of guy that could keep up with almost anyone on almost any topic. And as a 16-year-old, there was nothing more annoying in the world than that. Now, I know that his knowledge about these things wasn't an accident, and it wasn't just being smart. His education taught him to never assume he knew it all and to find joy in the pursuit of learning itself, not just the knowing. His CWA education put him on that path. So here's another phrase I heard from him frequently growing up: use a little elbow grease. Growing up on a farm a few miles from here, my dad believed in the power of a hard day's work. He'd tell me, don't just buy a new one, try to fix it. Don't be afraid to take it apart and figure it out. You might just solve it. Don't be afraid to work up a sweat. It's just good exercise. We learned that work ethic here in Cedar Wake up at the crack of dawn to do farm chores, go to school, play football, turn out for a school play, go home, do more farm chores, go to sleep, get up, do it again the next day. And that translated into his adult life as well. He would work long days as a physician. He would come home, help us with our homework. He'd make dinner, a lot of the time as a single dad. Then he'd come out, sometimes to Cedar Woolley volunteering, providing free medical service. Then he'd go to bed and get up and do it again the next day. Cedar Woolley is the kind of community that supports and still teaches kids what my dad learned here, that the work, the elbow grease itself, brings happiness that even can be greater than the result of that work. So here's the last phrase he loved to use that I'll leave you with. It's a bluebird day. And so here's a small admission I'm going to make that I hope doesn't get my high school diploma revoked. I missed more than a few school days in the winter, frequently just coincidentally, and you gotta believe me here, it was a coincidence, whenever Mount Baker just happened to get 10 inches of snow the night before. Or sometimes in the spring when it was a sunny day after weeks of rain and Sock Mountain wouldn't be crowded because it was midweek. I know, weird coincidences. Well, it turned out my dad wasn't all hard work and nose to the grindstone. He'd flip on the lights in my room at 6 a.m. and tell me the skis were loaded in the car and we needed to leave in 10 minutes if we were going to make first tracks off Chair 6. My dad adored the natural wonders around Cedar Woolley, Skagit County, and the Pacific Northwest. My dad actually lived or worked in Tacoma, Olympia, California, Bolivia, New Zealand, Alaska, and Germany. And he traveled to most U.S. states: Mexico, Canada, Australia, Europe, and Africa, among others. So even after seeing the world and having opportunities to go just about anywhere, he chose here. He loved this community and he loved the people here. He wanted Heidi and I to have the same opportunities that he received and that this community still supports today. He tried to give back to the community that supported him. He spent much of his life volunteering or finding other ways to support local charities, or, while battling cancer himself, cared for folks in their final days with hospice, even when he didn't need the work. He believed in being part of our community that always supported him and taking advantage of every bluebird day that our beautiful corner of the world had to offer. So, there's a small slice about what my dad was like and some of the ways he benefited from Cedar Woolley. I can't sum him up in 10 minutes or even 10 hours, but I think you make him smile. If this weekend you do just a few things that I think that he would do if he were here. He'd try to learn something new that was outside of his wheelhouse. He'd break a sweat putting in some elbow grease by putting some plants in his garden. And then I think he would take friends and family and go out for a hike on what would be, or what looks like anyway, it's going to be a bluebird day this weekend. Maybe by going for a hike. We love and miss him every day. Thanks again for your time and for this honor.
He'd be proud of you guys too. So I have Christina Jefferson. She's our school board president. She's presenting a clock award, which has information about Paul on there, and the other is a certificate by our Alumni Association for a Pride Plaza paper out in front of the gym in Paul's name. So congratulations to you and your family. He'd be really proud of you guys. Steve Massey. Steve Massey is our community award winner, and Steve moved to Cedar Woolley in 1957. Steve's been married to his wife Jan for a long time, has 2 children, Sean and Tiffany, 4 grandchildren. Yeah? Yeah. Worked for Snelson Company for 36 years. And the best way to wrap up Steve's nomination is if you've seen a community project in Cedar Woolley, Steve is part of it. Ball Field, Pride Plaza, Riverfront Park, the Christmas tree going up every year in the middle of town. Steve was a part of all of that, and I'm sure much, much more. Those of you who know Steve know he served the community in the way he led the community through service. So we're excited for him. Presenting for Steve tonight is Mr. John Schmidt. Where is he? There he is. There.
Not real used to speaking in front of people, so this will probably be real short. All right, let's start out. I even wrote notes on this one here. Oh, Steve Massey. How many people in here know Steve Massey? Raise your hand. Wow, this will be short then. I don't have to worry too much about it. I've known him for quite a while, worked with him, beside of him, and he's a darn good hand, you know. He's done more projects for this town. You know, and I was thinking about this today. We took a group of second graders down to the aquarium down there in Seattle, and I was thinking these kids are so darn lucky when they come back. They'll have all these things to play on and remember by because of people like Steve Massey. You know, what we have out here are people that dream up things. We have people that actually give money to these projects. Then we have people that go out and make sure they get done, you know. Yeah, and well, as a recipient myself, and I feel really, really, really honored to be able to nominate somebody with the magnitude that Steve has done for her. And the only thing I'm not sure of at this point is if he really graduated. We have to go back to, well, maybe, yeah. Let's just say he did. That's good. Okay. I will give you a list, Matt, start on some projects, but I'm going to keep this really, really short because we have these meetings about, you know, anyway, keeping things short. And I think Steve would rather talk to you after this in a reception area back here. And, you know, has anybody got anything to say? Good or bad? No, never mind. We'll talk good later. Thank you, Steve, for all you've done for this community. We do appreciate it.
Steve, do you want to say a few words before you get your awards?
He's good.
Put the pressure on.
Well, I'd like to thank the committee and thank my wonderful town. I just love this place. Back in the mid-70s, we went away for 7 years and went all over the states, and I thought for sure there'd be a nicer place in the county, but boy, I was wrong. So glad to be back. Glad that I got to work with Snelson Companies. Bill was a great supporter of the community and really got me going in supporting everything. And thank you.
So you got a project and he's done. That's your guy. Let him know about it. Or it sounds like you can let John know about it and he'll let him know about it. Right? Yeah. Good, thanks, John. All right, Dr. James Rogers. Dr. James Rogers. Dr. James Rogers, I read the bio that was sent in. I don't know if you looked at the bio in the program. The first couple lines sounded a lot like me growing up, and then it got drastically different as the bio changed. I'm not gonna tell you where it changed, but it got a lot different there. Yeah. Yeah, so it sounds like Dr. Rogers was quite an athlete himself and turned down an athletic scholarship to study medicine at the University of Washington and married a sweetheart in 1968 and went through UW Med School. Did a residency in London, England, is that correct? Mm-hmm. I've been to London, but I didn't do what you did. Yeah, and on return to the United States, he's a part of the clinical and teaching faculty here in Washington, opened up a pediatric practice, sports medicine fellowship, team physician for the Sounders. I like soccer. Yeah, and so, yeah, and was preceded in death by his wife. Yep, and it has a new wife, Aggie, I'm sorry. But Mark Nilsson, one of our former school administrators and CWA grad himself, Mark Nilsson's going to come down and present Dr. James Rogers. So Mark, come on down. Mark is a professional grandparent and amateur comedian. Here he goes.
Good evening. Good to be here. Some of you that read that Jim Rogers was going to get this award tonight probably had the same reaction I did. Really? You read this bio thing that he sends out. That's nice, but there's a lot more to Jim that you should probably hear and that's kind of my job tonight. Let's see. He has two boys. One of them here. Let's see. Rob's here. Rob, good. You're here. Is Bruce here? No, well, that's okay. You're his favorite son, so it's good that you're here. And, Rob, you've probably heard these stories before, and if not, then good, you should know them. Because, he could come back to haunt you if the FBI shows up at your door or anything like that. So Jim graduated in 1964. 1964. That was a long time ago. I mean, I was like 11. It's good we didn't wait too long on this just to be doing this posthumously. I think I'm glad we're doing this now. So, Jim is getting the academic award, but you need to know that Jim was a bit of a cheater. In high school, so for example, in high school, in a senior English class, he and his friend Carlos, who's here tonight, who can verify all these stories, they hadn't prepared for the test. And so Jim stole the notes from the teacher. He offered them to Carlos. Carlos said, "No, thank you, I'm not a cheater." And so they took the test, and Carlos, who didn't prepare, got an A. Jim got a B. I mean, how does that happen? "Hi, I'm Jim Rogers. I'm applying for medical school. I get B's." Who wants that guy? That's nice, Jim. Good student. And I have a story from a colleague of his who they'd been up skiing to Mount Baker, coming back, stopped the Chandelier to have some food and drink, and there was four of them together, and this is Super Bowl weekend, and the Super Bowl game's on, and they're sitting there playing, and so they're playing a little cribbage while they're watching the game, and the people on the other side that are playing against he and his partner have their back to the big screen TV. And every once in a while, where Jim, you have to be good in math for cribbage, and Jim's not that good with numbers, so he wasn't doing that well. And every once in a while he'd say, "Man, look at that play." They'd turn around, he'd move his page forward and their page back, and he kept doing it until finally the other guys go, they turned around quickly, and there they realized he was cheating the whole time. I'm not sure this is the right award for you tonight, Jim. We'll see. And Jim was kind of a ladies' man in high school. Now, those of you that know him know that's the case. He was a bit of a ladies' man. And in fact, one time there was a teacher here, Mr. Dunlop, who Jim kind of was taking a fancy to his daughter. So he thought, well, I'm going to try to be a gentleman for a change. I'll go up and ask him if I can take her out. And he goes up and asks her, well, it wasn't his daughter, it was his wife. So Jim didn't do real well in that sex class. You can imagine. All seriousness aside, Jim, he really is an amazing guy, and if you recognize the name Rogers, you may have remembered. If you're old enough, you remember there was a mill across the street from the tennis courts, and it was Willis Rogers and Pearson. That was his father, and 2 other guys owned that mill. And it's all gone now, but that's where you may have heard this word before. But Jim, you know, he was not only a hero, I think, academically, but he's also a hero in other ways. I was related a story of back in the mid-90s, he was at an island called Christmas Island, where he and I actually just came back from fishing. He was there fishing, and you fish on these flats in the salt water. They came back that evening, and you sit around, you have a drink or two, and you have to picture this. So you're on the beach, and there's this reef that's shallow, or this shallow flats, and then there's this reef there. And on the other side of the water drops off, and so guys would get back from fishing during the day, and they'd go out there and see if they could catch a fish to eat. So there was this gap in the reef where they could cast or bring fish in. So a guy decides he's going to go out there and swim. And the rules for responsible drinking had kind of gone out the window that evening, I think, with this gentleman. And he took off, and he got on the other side of the reef and couldn't get back. And his buddies thought it was funny. They're all laughing and waving at him. And Jim realized that this guy was in trouble. He grabs a life jacket, grabs a rope, hands it to the guy on the beach with him, swims out through this slot in the reef, gets the guy, and then they yard him back with this rope. He was cut up and bleeding, and probably would not be alive today if it were not for Jim Rogers. Remember that story, Jim? Yeah. So, Jim was a pediatrician for the first part of his career, for sports medicine, and I can't imagine any more noble a calling than helping frantic parents with problems with their children, with sick children. In his bio, he makes mention of the fact that he went to medical school and that he went into London. It took me, I've known Jim for a long time, it took me many years to actually hear kind of the details of that. And anybody in here who's been to medical school knows that takes 4 years to complete, sometimes 5. Jim finished it in 3. So the academic award is well placed. He mentions in his bio that he went to the Sick Children's Hospital in London, England, to do his residency. And being part of the British, being in London, in the old British Empire, they serve kids from all over the world. The old Commonwealth countries will send some of their worst patients there, and children. And so Jim applied for residency and was accepted. The year that Jim applied, there was one person accepted from the United States, and that was Jim. Nobody the year before, and nobody the year after. So, pretty exclusive club. So the academic award, that's what I'm getting at here, the academic award is well-deserved. And Jim, I'm glad you're my fishing partner, and I'm proud to be your friend. Jim Rogers.
Thank you. It's nice to be here with you all. It's nice to see faces of old friends and faces of some of the most important faculty of my life. George Miller was a hero. What a teacher, what a mentor, as well as others. And I was lucky to go through this school district. I'm not so lucky to have Mark as a friend. I should place that in past tense, of course. Mark's little introduction reminded me of my mother. On Sundays, my mother would make a roast that we would have after church. And I said to my mother, "Mom, how do you do a roast?" She goes, "Jimmy, listen, Jimmy, there's 2 ways. You can do it with a low temperature for a long time, or you could do it with a high temperature for a short time." And that's the kind of roast that Mark did for me. be growing up in an area where logging industries were so strong because it paid for our roast. And also the dairy farmers were important, and it's one of the mistakes I've made, and I really do feel the best way that you can learn is by making mistakes, except if you're in medicine. But the mistake I made tonight before I came to accept this honor was I should have stopped at one of the large dairy barns to get a set of strong rubber boots and a shovel. It was wonderful to hear the string quartet. In '64, the violin had just been discovered. And the instrument that was played here was a wash tub, broomstick, and a wire. It was hard to get wire then because my dad repaired Willis, Rogers, and Pearson pretty much with any wire and I'd like to thank the committee for this honor. It always seemed to me that people that get honored should have done honorable things, and I haven't done many of those. But I'm happy to be here, and I thank you.
That was great. You thought you were pretty clever, Mark. He's way smarter than you. I'm telling you what. For a minute, I still was thinking I had similarities with him until the rest of the bio came out, and then when he actually spoke, I realized I'm not anywhere near that. So, well deserved. Congratulations to you and your family. All right. Judy Van Beek Sato is getting the district award, and we're going to have her presenters come up. We thought there was an order to this. No, there's a slight change. There's a slight change. We're going to put you up here. And Judy taught business education for 38 years, 35 of those in Cedar Woolley. She led the FDLA. And basically what you need to know about Judy is she's a hero of a lot of former Cedar Woolley students. And kind of like that whole wash tub music thing, Judy started business ed when it was really like manual typewriters and moved the program with some of her teammates who are here tonight, moved the business ed program to basically where we are now, the future. So Judy, you're a well-deserved award winner, and we're going to let these ladies have their shot at you, I guess.
I got some interesting emails from some of Judy's relatives. The Van Beeks back here, where are you? Oh, okay, there you are. One thing that they loved her a lot, but she never did barn chores. They lived on a dairy farm, and Judy never had to do barn chores because she was going to college. But she made really good chocolate chip cookies. So that kind of took care of that. She sang at events with her sisters, and she played the lead piano. If you ever went by the parsonage at the Baptist Church in Burlington in the, when was that, the 70s? She really could rip out some good hymns on that piano. She and her husband took her twin sisters to Disneyland after their high school graduation, which was really fun, I'm sure. That road trip was probably really good. One of her sisters talked about her talents, which included cooking, knitting, card making, gardening, painting, and stamping. And they said she loved her family very much. The nieces and nephews and the grand nieces and nephews are all her kids, so she's very, very giving to all of her children, her family. And one sister, this is a quote, she's a beautiful person and very loved by her family, which if you saw them out in the lobby, you knew that for sure. So, Anne just got something to say now, and I'll probably throw it to you.
So I've had the great experience of working with Judy as a student and as a colleague. So when I was a student here, just a couple of short years ago, really rude. She was Miss Van Beek. Then she became Mrs. Sato. And then Mr. Koss thought he was pretty funny, so he called her Mrs. Van Sato. So I became her colleague and co-worker, and I wasn't quite sure how I should address her, because being a little bit old school, it was difficult to go from calling somebody Mrs. Van Beek, Mrs. Sato, to Judy. I still feel kind of odd doing it, so I just call her Jude now. It makes it easy. She was a teacher that I highly respected, and so it was difficult. So I slowly understood that our relationship had changed from student and teacher to colleague, and I was able to call her Judy. But as a student, she taught me how to type. That ages us. Right there. She also taught shorthand. I'm not sure if anybody even really, well, it's a pretty elderly crowd, so maybe you guys know shorthand. But for some of you youngsters, it's kind of like texting in a short way. But I learned a lot of things from Judy, from the academic, such as you should never, ever thank people in advance in a business letter or now in an email, because it's just not business proper. Learn that in business English. Importance of working hard, being honest, having integrity, and being proud of what you've accomplished. As students, we grow to respect teachers who are fair, who are honest, who know their craft, and who are committed to their daily work. These were qualities that Judy embodied, and we as her students, and there are a few in here this evening, respected her as our teacher and as a person. When I became a teacher and Judy's colleague, I realized these qualities that made her an exceptional teacher were the same that made her an exceptional person. She was fun to be around. You can hear her laugh and see that smile from anywhere. And you know, she has a wonderful sense of humor, and I think Tenny could probably say she could really rock that Mama Cass impersonation a few years back. She was always willing to help me as a young developing teacher. She was truly a mentor to me, and she was to many others new in the field of teaching. She spent her time and energy creating curriculum to better enhance student learning. She was a leader in her department, but never, ever was interested in seeking the recognition that came with being a real quality leader. I sought Judy out many times when I needed advice or a voice of reason. You know, all that teaching stuff is great, but like Kenny said, man, she could bake. Wow. I still bake those molasses cookies. I got that recipe from you. I'm not sure if I tell anybody that it's your recipe, because they're so good they think I'm really good. But if you've ever had carrot cake, or at Christmas time, the chocolate-covered cherries, wow. It's a good way to put on that first-year teacher 15. I've been extremely fortunate in my career and my personal life to know people who are truly above the rest. And Judy's a very example of that. I'm grateful to her for many things, and now after all this time I can say I'm grateful to her for her friendship. Kelly sent me a letter that somebody sent today that she wanted me to read. I'll read quickly. I was blessed to have many outstanding teachers during my 12 years as a student in the Cedar Lake School District, but the teacher being honored tonight sets the bar for exemplary teaching. A quote by William Arthur Ward states, "The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, the great teacher inspires." Judy Sato not only explained, but she demonstrated and she inspired. Entering high school, I was certain that I wanted to be a teacher, but I was still determining the grade level or subject that I might want to teach. After watching Judy, Miss Van Beek back then, teaching my freshman typing class, so you know this person is our age. I knew that I had found the subject I wanted to teach because I just wanted to be like her. Her warmth, her laughter, her encouragement to excel, her passion for the content she taught, and her connection with students made her a favorite. I spent my high school years taking every class she taught and working as her student aide with hundreds of fond memories. Memories of FBLA conventions and competitions, typing and running the football roster on the mimeograph machine, blue hands from the ditto machine, excitement over self-correcting electric typewriters, joy over passing another shorthand dictation speed and rotating through a series of calculating equipment in the office machines class. Times have sure changed. Upon visiting Judy's classroom in later years, she had transitioned her classroom in the business department to include an up-to-date technology lab focused on teaching the latest business technologies. Through all the content and technology changes, Judy never wavered in her ability to explain, demonstrate, and inspire. Her example led me into the field of business education. I have been teaching for 36 years thanks to Judy's inspiration. When she faced a challenging teaching situation, when faced with a challenging teaching situation, I often think, what would Judy do? Didn't they make bracelets for that? Is that a WWJD? Wow, I was something else. She would treat the situation with integrity and warmth and conclude it with her contagious laugh. I am honored to call her my teacher, mentor, and friend. Her impact on my life is just one example that could be shared by hundreds of other students. Many owe lifelong career skills, words of wisdom, encouragement, and confidence building to Judy. Her influence extends beyond students to her colleagues. Throughout her years at Cedar Woolley High School, she has been a respected colleague and leader. I'm thrilled that she is being honored tonight for her years of service to students and to the Cedar Woolley School District. I still strive to be just like her. And that's from Christy Hall. Spitty. Yeah. So in closing, I always remember something that Judy said, a teacher on her feet is worth two in their seat. So given that sage advice, we'll stand and give her a round.
I do want to thank the committee for giving me this honor, and also Sandy and Janet and Sean, one of my beginning student teachers there for a while. And I want to thank you for also presenting the award to me when I was in Monroe's salon having my hair highlighted. And so instead of seeing me like this, they saw me with a bubble cap on and tufts of hair sticking out. And that's how I found out that I got this award. As I was thinking about what I was going to say tonight, so many faces and student achievements and pranks came to mind. The mentors that I had who shared their expertise with me were Marilyn Meiser, Rudy Fanilovich, Mike Gertie, Stan Umdahl, and George Bricka. And none of them are here anymore. But I will be forever grateful to them for what they taught me and in lessons. They advised me that when you teach, you need to be very clear in your expectations, set high standards, and stick to them. So I followed their advice, and my first year of teaching bookkeeping, I became known as the warden. And I think part of that was because what I did was I expected students to be to class on time. So I locked my classroom door, and when the tardy bell rang, it was pulled shut. And most of the time that worked, until a couple of students decided that it would be more fun if they pulled the door shut and the teacher was locked out without her keys. There was more laughing in the classroom than there was in the hallway. I also remember my 1967 red-hot Chevy Impala being moved from its regular parking spot to the front steps of the high school. And then, John, I told you I was going to bring you up. one of the things that I remember about John, the ultimate prankster of Cedar Woolley High School, is that he sent a student of his to deliver a phone message to me. And on that message, it told me that I needed to call Dr. Aiken, A-I-K-E-N, Payne, P-A-Y-N-E. Now, so you guys caught on before I did. I made the call, got Dr. Gross's clinic, and insisted to the receptionist that I was supposed to call Dr. Aiken Payne. She also caught on before I did. When I told my husband about this a couple days ago, he said, "Man, you must have been bold." And I said, "Yeah, I was." You know, when you teach for 35 years in one school, the rewards are many. And you get to know the parents and the community of the students that you teach. And one of the things that I felt was really important to me is that if you do work with the kids and get them to understand that when you work hard, amazing things can be accomplished. And as you've heard some of the speakers say tonight, those students, they became the teachers, the lawyers, the doctors, the hairstylists, and medical assistants, and the list goes on and on and on. And for that, I'm grateful. They take my blood pressure, they cut my hair, they built me a computer from scratch, and even an entertainment center mic that I still have to this day. And yes, you know what? They even give you a colonoscopy. I remember telling the nurse when I saw her before the procedure, "We've got to stop meeting." Then these students became parents, provided more students to teach, and the cycle was repeated. And for that, I'm grateful. So because of the students I've had, the co-workers, and especially my Vogue crew, and Angela, and Nurse Sandy, and all of you guys, I feel that I'm the one who needs to thank you for what I was able to achieve and be blessed with a career that was so fulfilling. And even though I don't see you as often as I used to, the memories that I have will never be erased. So thanks to all of you and to my family for coming tonight and making this a very special day. Thank you.
Well done. That's the kind of teacher we want in our school district. That's the kind of person we want to be. So, well done, Judy. And your presenters did a nice stuff too, right? A couple of my former teachers there, too. All right. We went a little out of order. We got a little pinch hitting here. Fred Lennox is going to be getting the Hall of Fame Athletics Award tonight. I see Mr. Raleigh entered the room. Bud, are you still going to present? So we're going to have Bud come up and do the main piece of this, but Fred was from the class of '66, had a football scholarship to Washington State, also attended Skagit Valley College, and has been a big part of logger supply and equipment. From what I read in his bio and heard about him, he's a survivor. He makes it work, and his business has spread as logging industry has been up and down over the years. He's a survivor. So sounds like he's a very well-deserving recipient. We're going to have Bud come up and do the meet of this. And you're way taller than me, so it'll work.
Thank you very much. Coach Raleigh has a little problem with his throat. And you'll soon figure out that I have a little bit of a problem with my tongue. It's definitely my pleasure to introduce and say a few words about Fred Lennox. Fred and I have been friends for 50 years, since we're real early childhood. And Coach Raleigh has asked me to say a few words about Fred, and he gave me some notes here that are, from the best I can tell, in Egyptian hieroglyphics. I was, and he was a teacher and coach. Fred was not a classmate of mine at Cedar Woolley High School. He was never here when I was here. But we both entered WSU, well, first of all, Fred entered WSU on a football scholarship where we were both assigned to Stimson Hall, Residence Hall. And so I got to know him a lot better then. Fred came to WSU after me, but left before me. He had great potential academically. I did not. He has a tremendous memory. I'll let you judge me on your own. But I made the dean's list, and he did not. The only problem for me was that it was not an academic achievement dean's list. It was the wrong dean's list. Coach Raleigh, as I said, passed these words on. He passed as a quarterback very accurately to a color. But Fred wanted to always call the plays himself. Coach Raleigh insisted on calling them himself. So Coach Raleigh would send the play in, and Fred would run what he wanted to. He blamed it on not being able to see the signal or hear. So Fred would turn and squeeze up. This is back in the days of really heavy contacts. Put his hands on his hips and squint, and then did whatever he wanted to do. Very successfully, I might add. And he became a very good athlete at a young age. Coach Raleigh played in a baseball league up in Bellingham for adults only, and Willis, Rogers, and Pearson put up the entry fee of $100, which was real money back then. And so they were one guy short, and some guy, hey, I know this kid on Warner Street out there that's in the 8th grade. We could pick him up. So Fred come in and filled in on that senior team and did quite well. One thing that I wanted to mention here kind of carries on to Jim Rogers and his family. You know, Fred had the opportunity to play when the grandstands, I think, was brand new here in Cedar Woolley, dedicated in the honor of Tom Mullen, who was a previous football coach many years before any of us were here. And Mr. Mullen, you met him. He's an old teacher now, so but anyway, that stadium or facility was built by the community, like a lot of things are in Cedar Woolley. And I congratulate Cedar Woolley for completing projects like that. Willis, Rogers, and Pearson donated the lumber. There were many other donors, and all the labor, to the best of my knowledge, was done, you know, with volunteers. There's not a lot of communities that do that. Now, Cedar Woolley and Burlington have better visitor stands than Mount Vernon has for their home team. So that's something. That's remarkable and not something I'm proud of. Okay, I'm trying to get into the hieroglyphics now. In that stadium, the opening game was with Mount Vernon and dedicated, and I think you guys won that, right, Fred, in the Cedar Woolley Cup. And I'm a Cedar Woolley Cup for life. And Fred and Rich, as what they said in the introduction, started a company down in southwest Washington that became very successful, and it demonstrates their ability to work as teammates, which they learned here in Cedar Woolley. Rich was an outstanding athlete himself that I admired from I was in junior high. They had a great basketball team. Fred played football, basketball, and baseball. He was an outstanding multi-sport guy. And he, in basketball, he's an outstanding scorer, great defensive player, and a good rebounder. Football is probably, well, I wouldn't say it was his strongest point, but it's the one that he chose to follow the farthest. He is also an excellent pitcher, pitched a no-hitter against Snohomish way back when, and they had a really good baseball program. And he, as I mentioned, went to WSU on a scholarship. His sophomore year started as a linebacker in football and was the only sophomore on the field and to play in the championship game against Oak Harbor. And they played in a 40-mile-an-hour wind, which was an accomplishment just to stay on the field. He won, as a junior senior quarterback, he won 13 straight games. They haven't done that in a long time. There are two football teams in the history of Cedar Woolley that had undefeated seasons. One year was 1962, which I'm proud of, I was around in 1965 when Fred was quarterbacking. As I said, I'm honored to be able to introduce to you Fred, and he's going to give me a list of his family. So I want to bring it up so I can read them off for you. If you choose to, you can do it. Okay, his brother Rich and his wife Linda are here. As I mentioned, they're both graduates of Cedar Woolley. His sons, Dean and Josh and Vaughn, Jake and his wife Grace, and daughter Lily, Lucy, and he's got a couple of his sons here, who accuse them of being daughters. Jared and Leah. We went to the same writing school as Coach Earl. Anyway, thank you very much. Fred Lindsay.
Thank you. Very well done. Thank you to whoever made this possible. A lot of good days here at Cedar Woolley. Should have a speech written. Anyway, graduated in '66 and then went on to WSU to play football, which lasted a year. Came back, went to Skagit Valley College for summer quarter, carried a full load and worked a full schedule at Skagit. And that didn't work out, so that ended my football career at that time. My grandson there motioning something. Anyway, that's what's written in the program, and I think that's about it. Anyway, thank you. It's been a great night. If we go back to the beginning, we talk about these people are what this community is all about. And this is a big deal to the recipients and their families. It is a big deal. And what they've done and who they are has got them to this point. That's why they were nominated, because they meant something to somebody else. And maybe what we can bring away from this is they inspire us to be better too. And that's really what I think this recognition program is all about, that these are the people that inspire us to be better. And so I'm proud to be from Cedarville. I think it's the greatest place to live in the world. It's the greatest place to work in the world. And just want to thank you all for coming. Kelly, thanks for putting everything together. So let's thank her one more time. And at the school, we always tell the kids we want to thank our parents, friends, and family for coming to support us. So let's thank all of you for showing up and supporting us. And we want to invite you for a little bit more coffee talk and reception in the cafeteria immediately after we leave here. So with that, thank you so much for supporting these people and coming tonight. We'll see you next year. Thank you.
No.